everybody, and welcome to my very first D&D discussion video. Now, I felt it would be a good idea for my first D&D discussion video to just start with the basics, and I'm gonna show you how to make a character in D&D Beyond. Now, if you don't know what D&D Beyond is, it is a site that is run by Wizards of the Coast, who owns D&D, and basically it's a comprehensive site that allows you to do anything you really want to do in D&D. It allows you to create characters, it allows you to create campaigns, run campaigns, create homebrew, and even look at other people's homebrews. There's a bunch of different stuff that you can look at on D&D Beyond, and so it is a very good tool to get into D&D with, and to be able to use in any of your campaigns, or whether you're a DM or whether you're a player. Now, they make the character creation process really easy, so I'm gonna go through that with you right now, just to get you a start on it and show you how to do it. So here we are, we have D&D Beyond on the browser, so you just look up D&D Beyond and should pop right up. Now, I would recommend that you make an account so that way it saves all your characters and all of your content that you make and save on here. You can go ahead and do that. There should be a sign in button right here, but right now I'm already signed in, so. All right, so in order to make a character, you have to go into this little tab called Collections, and then you have My Characters, so all you need to do is click My Characters. And here, there's a list of all of your characters that you've made on the free version, because D&D does have a subscription that you can pay for, but on the free version, you only get 6 characters. So depending on how much you want to use this, if you want to use it for every character, I would recommend paying for the subscription. But if you're just using for a couple characters here and there, free is totally fine. So as you can see, I have the free version, and it's been just fine for me, but some people are different, so. So when you want to make your character, you click Create a Character up here. It's pretty easy to see, create a character. It'll have character creation methods. So you have the standard and pre-made, you got quick build, and random. Now, obviously random is just kind of fun. I've never actually used random, but I'm sure it's pretty fun because it just randomizes your character. So there's standard, which is the one that I'm going to do. Standard allows you to do a step-by-step approach. It'll guide you through it. It'll have everything that you need to know in order to make your character, and so it's the best, in my opinion, because that way you can also know your character as well as kind of walk through the process of it. There's pre-made, which D&D Beyond has a bunch of pre-made characters. You don't need to do this unless you don't want to make your own character. That's fine too. Like I said, I've never even used pre-made either because I just personally like to make my own characters, but to each their own. And there's quick build, which again, I've also never used quick build either, but it does say that choose a species and class to quickly create a level 1 character. And so I'm imagining you kind of just give the general idea of what your character is, and then D&D Beyond does the rest for you. So, but I'm gonna do standard because I like being with my character through the entire process and actually building my character. All right, so now the first thing you have right here is a lot of the character preferences, partner content, dice rolling, and basically a lot of the other stuff that is not as important. It's mainly for whenever you're playing with this character, because you can play in other people's campaigns through D&D Beyond, and so that's what a lot of this stuff is referencing to. So first of all, there's also your character's name. I don't like to come up with my name first because I don't even know what my character's gonna be. So you can always leave this later, because if you move forward, you'll always be able to get your character name, so. And there's character preferences. These are all the sources that you can have. So there's a bunch of different source books. If you've done anything with D&D, you know that they have a ton of source books that you can choose from. And so these are all of the different types of source books that you can include in your D&D character. So homebrew is basically anything that you've made in D&D Beyond or other people have made in D&D Beyond. Now there's the core rules, which I believe, it doesn't say specifically, but I believe that now I think the core rules refers to the 2024 edition, and those will be different, from the 2014 core rules, because you see down here there's 2014 core rules, and so I believe this is the 2024. It'll be set up a little bit differently. And then there's expanded rules, which is character options from supplementary source books beyond the core rules. See, these expanded rules are, it also sounds like these expanded rules are coming from the 2024 side, so anything that they come out with for 2024, we'll use those expanded rules, because then there's also the 2014 expanded rules, where it's like Fizbal's Treasury of Dragons, Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, Xanthar's Guide to Everything, all those other books from the 2014 rule set, and so you can check those as well. Now there's also legacy / non-core. It says character options from older sources that may conflict with core rules. Now there's also partnered content. They have a bunch of partnered content here as well. So you just click this drop down menu and you have all of these like Critical Role, Drakkenheim, Humblewood, all of these. So you could select these as well in case you have a book that has that one of these partners own. You can use those as well. I'm just going to enable everything because why not? So there's dice rolling. This enables digital dice rolling for all characters. You might as well. It's no harm. I mean, if you really don't want dice rolling on here, you can uncheck it. But now there's optional features. A lot of classes have optional class features, and so you can check this if you want to because it is optional. If you wanted to look up and research the optional class options, but I guess if you really wanted to do it, basically you could just check it. And then it's optional. It's optional, so you might as well just check it if you are unsure. And yeah. Now there's advancement type. So depending on what your DM has said for your story, for your campaign, it's either going to be milestone or XP based. And so what this means is that XP means that for every encounter, your DM will give you guys an experience point count that you then increase your experience points by. And so at certain levels, you have those experience points that advances you to the next level, and so it just allows you to keep track of that. Milestone, however, is basically where your DM will tell you when to level up. So no matter what happens, no matter how many fights you get into, no matter what happens, your DM tells you when to level up. And so I personally like Milestone because there's less numbers involved. You don't have to worry about XP. And so Milestone is nice because it just allows that freedom of like, oh, like maybe like you guys had a rough time. Like it was like a rough time, but it wasn't like enough experience to, or like enough XP to level you up, but it was like a good experience or a canon experience, story experience, all that stuff. Milestone is best for that as well. So I'm going to leave it on Milestone because I like Milestone. And then there's hit point type. There will be fixed and manual. So basically the way that hit points works in D&D is if you, for your first level or for additional levels, you either can roll a dice for your hit points or you can just take a set number. And so that's what this is referring to. There's fixed and there's manual. The manual is when you manually roll the die and enter the rolled value, or fixed is you just take the number that it chooses for you, which if you guys want a quick hint on how to figure that out, it's your class's hit die. It's half of that plus 1. So there you go. That is that's how you figure out the fixed number for previous levels. And then for the first level, it is just the maximum on the hit die. A lot of times I typically go with fixed just because I would rather just take the fixed because it is more than half. And I don't want to roll a 1 for my hit points. So I just typically go with fixed because it's pretty consistent and very easy to work with. Now there's this next choice is use prerequisites. There's allow or restrict choices based on rule prerequisites for the following for this character, which means that a lot of times there will be feats or multi-class requirements, such as like, oh, your dexterity needs to be above 13 to multi-class in monk, say for instance, or something like that, you know. So you need to have certain requirements to take certain feats or multi-classes. I will say I would leave these checked because otherwise it's just not very smart, in my opinion, to turn them off and like just try to force yourself to get that feat that you would need the proficiency for or whatever, you know. So I would just leave them checked because you can't go wrong there. Now show level scaled spells. So this is basically saying, it says display and highlight available spells to cast with higher level spell slots. So whenever you have like a level 1 spell and you have level 3 spell slots, this has it to where if you click level 3 spell slots, it'll show that level 1 spell upcasted to level 3. So that way, instead of like, oh, like what level 1 spells can I upcast to level 3? Instead of like thinking about that, this just does it for you and just displays it for you. So I always keep it checked too because it's just kind of nice. And then there's also encumbrance type. Now there's use encumbrance, no encumbrance, and variant encumbrance. So encumbrance basically means that if the total weight of your bag is more than your carrying capacity, which your carrying capacity is determined by your strength score. If it exceeds your carrying capacity, then you are encumbered, which means that you are slower, you have disadvantage on certain checks and everything like that, and so it can really not be good if you are encumbered. So this is basically saying you can either use encumbrance, you can turn it off, or you can use like it says, use a more detailed rules for encumbrance. So I've never actually used variant encumbrance, so I don't know what that entails. A lot of times in my campaigns, I like to do no encumbrance because I don't necessarily like the fact that, you know, you have to worry about encumbrance. Yeah, I want my players to be like, oh yeah, just pick up whatever you want, you know? So obviously it just depends. You just have to ask your DM if they're gonna add encumbrance or not. And there's ignore coin weight, which ignore coin weight is very nice because if you have a bunch of money, that's gonna weigh you down a bunch because it says 50 coins weigh 1 pound. If you have like, I don't know, like 1,000 coins, that's like, well, 200 pounds? It's like 200 pounds. So, not good. So I would recommend going ignore coin weight, but again, it is completely up to your DM. You just gotta ask your DM, hey, are we ignoring coin weight? And then there's ability score, modifier, display. Now this is complete personal preference. So the way that they're displayed on the character sheet is you have like a box and like a little circle at the bottom of the box. And so this is referring to what number is in the box and what number is in the little tiny circle. I personally like to have the scores on the top. This is just, I don't know if it's just me, how I learned, whatever. I like to have the scores on the top and the little modifier in the little circle. A lot of people do like having the scores as the little number and the modifier the bigger number. Completely up to you, but I like to have my scores on top. And then character privacy, this is also completely up to you. Campaign only, which means that if you join a campaign with this character, only you and others within the campaign can see the character. There's public, which means anybody can see your character, and then private, only you can view your characters. So I'll just do private for now, just because I'm not going to join a campaign probably with this one, and I'm sure I can change it later, so I'm not worried about it. And then, so now that we have all of our character preferences and everything set, we just click this little arrow that says next. All right, so now it says choose a class. You'll have different drop downs, I guess you want to call them, different sections. And basically this is like, see the core rules. So this is the 2024 rules. This is the 2014 core rules. And then there's another one from Critical Role down here. So kind of just whatever you want. It depends on the DM. A lot of times you can make a character in 2024 rules if your DM is playing 2014 rules. It just depends on the DM. If they strictly want you to play 2024 rules, then you kind of have to abide by that. Or if they strictly want you to do 2014 rules, you have to abide by that as well. But it's completely up to you. If they don't have a preference, if you ask and be like, hey, which one do you want? And they're like, oh, I don't care. You can kind of just take it however you want. So now the 2024 rules are supposed to be more balanced. It's just, for new players, I'm sure it's fine. I like 2014 rules because that's what I'm most comfortable with. It's up to you if you guys are actually more comfortable with the 2024. Now, I will be doing a video based off of the 2024 core rules because they're different. But for the sake of this, in my opinion, the 2014 core rules are more flexible just because they have more options out right now. And so you kind of have to wait for the 2024 rules to get more of that flexibility. So for this video, I'm going to be going on the 2014 core rules, and I will be making a video later on the 2024 core rules. All right, now since I don't really care what class I'm choosing because I'm doing it for you guys, I'm gonna roll a d12 because there are 12 classes, and I'm gonna roll a d12 to see what class I am. So let's just roll real quick. No, I don't want that. Well, 9. Let's just go with 9. This dice roll is weird. I don't like it, but we're gonna go with 9. All right, so the 9th class on here is Rogue. So I'm gonna go ahead and click Rogue. Now I normally don't play Rogue, so this will be interesting, but. All right, so this is just confirm you're adding a class. It basically just saying here's the Rogue, a description on it, hit dies D8, primary ability is dexterity, and then your ability saves is dexterity intelligence. They have an external link to all of the details on the Rogue class. And then here's your level breakdown. You can go through all of this if you want, or you just trust the process, you know? But there's all of the different abilities you can get for the Rogue. So it kind of you can just review it before you actually decide on choosing that class. So I say, yes, I know what rogues are. I like them. I'm gonna click add class. So here we are. It's like, they have like all these like modules for your decisions with making a character. So right now it's like level 1. It says level 1 right here. So if you wanted to make a multi-leveled character at the start, all you need to do is click this little drop-down menu, and you can select what level you're making it up to. I'll go through every single level with you. But yeah, up here, like I said, milestone advancement, character level 1, max hit points is 8, hit die is 1d8, manage the HP right here. Then class features, I'm gonna go through the process here just to go through them. So hit points, 1d8, yep, that's just information on that. I get to choose my proficiencies. So I get 4 choices at first level. And so I get to choose all of my rogue skills. So for rogue, dexterity is my main priority. So I'm going to do stealth, sleight of hand, acrobatics. So yeah, you can only choose from the skills that the rogue says you have to choose from. So all of these are options for it. So you can kind of just pick and choose depending on what you want. There are typically only, there's really only like dexterity and charisma skills here. There is a couple like wisdom ones as well. So I'm gonna use a charisma, I'm gonna choose a charisma one. I'm going to use deception. So I chose deception as well as the other dexterity skills. Now the next choice is expertise. Now what expertise is, as at first level, choose your two of your skill proficiencies to become to get expertise in them, and basically what that means is your proficiency bonus is doubled for any ability check you make with that. All right, so I'm gonna do stealth and acrobatics because I want to be like I want to be somebody who's like darting around in the background, you know, like I want to be super like sneaky and acrobatic. So then first level, you also get your sneak attack, which is their primary ability that you're going to be mainly focusing on as a rogue. It just gives you a description based off of what that is. And then Thieves' Cant is a language you can get. That's a secret mix of dialect, jargon, and code. So that's just another thing that you can get, and it just has information on it. So a lot of times when you go through this, there will be exclamation marks, like it showed earlier. The exclamation marks are things that you have to select. Everything else is just description based. So if I just click choose a rogue skill, you see how it says exclamation mark here? You have to choose something there if there's an exclamation mark. So, all right, so that is it for Rogue level 1. And then here also it says available at higher levels. So you can click this plus icon and you can see everything in the later levels that you need, or that rogues get. And so you can look at those two to see if, oh, like how many levels do I want to take in Rogue, or do I really want to do rogues? All right, so now that we have that, I'm gonna click next. Here's the background. Now the background is very tied into your backstory. It really depends on what you're looking for. There's a bunch of backgrounds, and D&D Beyond does use every source book that you have on D&D Beyond in your pool of backgrounds that you can select. Same with classes and species. Classes aren't too different, but mainly with the background and species and stuff, it pulls from all of the source books that you have bought on D&D Beyond. So you can pull from any of those that you have bought already. So choose an option. I have all of these. See, there's core rules, 2014 core rules, and if I scroll down, there's 2014 expanded rules. So these are all ones that I have. So like, see, there's Silver Quill Student here, because I have the Strixhaven book, so you have all of these, the 2014 expanded rules. And then all this other stuff, there's character details, physical characteristics, personal characteristics, and notes. So let's go ahead and choose a background. I'm gonna look through my list and choose one that I really want to do, because like I said, I'm gonna be somebody who's darting around, they're sneaky, they're jumping around. So now most of the time when you play rogues, a lot of people will choose the criminal background because it just fits the rogue, but I'm different. I don't like to choose criminal. I'm gonna choose something else. Now a lot of times whenever I make my character, like the background and the ability scores and species, all that stuff, I like to do some research on the subclass, because every class has a subclass, and that subclass dramatically changes how you play the character. And so I will look into it, and I will choose a subclass that I think will fit best, or that I want to play, and I kind of help build my character around that as well. So I chose Soul Knife for the rogue, which basically is a psionic psionic rogue that uses like psychic blades and everything like that. So I'm going to do that subclass and kind of build it around that. All right, so I chose the background Faceless, which I'm honestly not sure which core book that is in. Okay, so I just looked it up, and the Faceless background is from Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus. So that's where it's from. So if you were curious and you wanted to look at that. So I chose faceless for my character because I get dual personalities. I can don a mask or a disguise and become somebody completely different, and then I can take that disguise off and become my true self. And so I think that's really cool. That's like a rogue-like background that would be really cool with my character, so I'm gonna choose this one. So choose skill proficiency, so I get intimidation and one of my choice, it looks like. So I'm gonna choose persuasion, and it's really nice because I chose deception before, so I get that deception and that persuasion to be able to be this faceless person. So I get disguise kit for tool proficiencies. I get to choose another language. Now for the language, you can choose any language you really want to. Now there's these basic languages that you can kind of take, whether it ties into your backstory or if you want to take them because you think it might be helpful in the campaign. Either way works, but there's a bunch of these basic languages, but then there's also these like exotic languages like Sylvan, Primordial, Undercommon, that you can take if it really ties into your backstory. A lot of times you don't just take exotic languages just to take them. It's more so related to your background and your backstory. So because they're not super common, they're cool to have exotic languages, but they're not really common. So if you want to take any of those, I would recommend taking it if it ties into your backstory. Now I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna select Undercommon because my guy is from the Underdark, and that's the language of the Underdark is Undercommon. So I'm gonna say that my guy was from the Undercommon, or my guy's from the Underdark, and we'll go with that. And there's dual personalities, allows me to change who I am, and then suggested characteristics. You can go through this if you want to. You can either make your own or choose these traits as well. I typically like to choose the suggested characteristics because it kind of like help you generate who you want to be with your character, and that way they appear on your character sheet, so that way you can get them if you ever want to like get inspiration for your actions or whatever. So there's personality traits, ideals, bonds, and flaws. Now you can roll, it says there's a D8, D6. You can roll a die for each of these if you wanted to make the personality traits random. I'm not gonna make mine random, so I'm gonna choose what these are. Now these personality traits are based on your background, so whatever background you choose, this is what it's gonna be based off of. So for my personality traits, it says choose 2. So I'm gonna choose the second option. I strive to have no personality. It's easier to forget what's hardly there. And a lot of these too, if you're being a rogue and you're choosing rogue-like backgrounds, a lot of them are gonna be very like tragic or edgy. So just, you know, you gotta go through it a little bit, you know. And for the second personality trait, I'm gonna choose I behave like an extreme opposite of my persona. I wanna make it very apparent that I am not my persona and I wanna trick people with it. Now for ideals, all of these ideals, you see that they tie into your alignment. So there's good, lawful, chaotic, evil, any. So a lot of these, you can choose what you want based off of that, and kind of go from there, you know. I'm a rogue, and I'm kind of going this way too. I kind of want to be chaotic neutral. Chaotic neutral is the best, in my opinion, the best alignment, in my opinion, because you kind of do what you want to do and not worry too much about like how it's going to affect your character, or you know. So it's like the most free alignment to have, because you don't have to think about like, oh, is this gonna go against my alignment? Because chaotic neutral is kind of like you're just kind of doing whatever you want, how you want to do it. So I'm gonna choose confusion. Deception is a weapon. Strike from where your foes won't expect. Now for bonds, a lot of these times these also tie into your backstory as well. But for bonds, I'm gonna put I am exceptional. I do this because no one else can and no one can stop me. It's a very chaotic neutral thing to say. I am going to choose because for flaws, this is a good role-playing thing that you can add into as well, because then you can kind of like use these flaws to incorporate into like your dialogue and everything. And so I'm gonna choose the flaw, I never make eye contact or hold it unflinchingly. So basically what I wanna do with this is, since I have two personas, I wanna make it to where one of my personas never makes eye contact and the other persona holds it unflinchingly. So I like that little duality of it, so I'm gonna choose that. All right, so now there's character details. If you click and open that up, you have alignment, which I've already discovered or decided, the chaotic neutral. Gotta do chaotic neutral. Yeah, so here it says chaotic neutral creatures follow their whims, valuing their personal freedom above all else. A scoundrel who wanders the land by living by their wits is probably chaotic neutral. Now, to give you a brief overview on the alignment chart, since you probably, if you might not know exactly what it is and you might be a little confusing. Basically, there's all these options: chaotic evil, chaotic good, chaotic neutral, yada yada yada. So basically, I'll show a picture right here where basically it's the chart of 9 squares. One side from left to right, there's lawful to chaotic, and then from top to bottom, it's good to evil. So you, from good to evil, you know, so there's good on that part, which basically means you try to do good in the world. You know, do things to benefit other people, to benefit the world, everything you can do to be good. There's neutral, which means you're not really worried about the good versus the evil. You, a lot of times, are kind of just doing things kind of along your mindset, however your mindset is. So you're not really concerned about what is good or evil. You just kind of like just do whatever. And then there's evil, which means that you are actively seeking out the detriment of other people, the, you know, putting people down or seeking your own motives. It's very selfish. So good versus evil is pretty easy to understand. The lawful and chaotic is a little bit different to understand, a little bit harder. So lawful is basically you follow whatever code you have, you follow it. So, for instance, lawful good means, like, a lot of times they have clerics for a good god and everything. Like, that is like lawful good, where they're trying to help other people, and so, but they're gonna follow the law. Whatever law they believe is good, that's what they're on. So, that's their whole thing, is sticking to their code, their law, and bettering others. Now, lawful neutral a lot of times is it's like, I guess you kind of think of like kind of like politicians, but like not like the evil politicians, but like kind of an average politician. I feel like would be lawful neutral, because lawful neutral is like you just stick to the law. The law says what it is. You know, you're not too worried about whether it benefits others or whether it detriments others. You are just, the law is the law. A lot of times it is just, you're just carrying out the law no matter the outcome. Now, lawful evil is a lot of times like cultists and everything like that, where they have their code, but their code is set up to like oppress others and hurt others and everything. So like you still have a code, but your code is to be evil. And with chaotic, this is kind of like, you know, the opposite of that, where chaotic is like more of that free flow. A lot of times like, oh, whatever you think, you know, where lawful is what other people have put into place, and chaotic is what you put into place. So chaotic good is a lot of times like, it's like Robin Hood. Chaotic good, you do good, you want to do good, you want to help others, but you do it in your own way, even if it breaks the law. Same thing with chaotic neutral, is like you kind of just do whatever you want to do, even if you break the law, you're like, I don't really care. And then chaotic evil is like the horrible evil of like, I'm going to kill you because I feel like it, you know, like that's, they just are evil for evil's sake, and they go all at it, you know, they try to break the laws, they try to do their own thing. And then there's also like the neutrals, where it's just wishy-washy, you know, you kind of go back and forth with it. You don't care about the extremes, you kind of just stay in the middle. So like a true neutral character, they don't really care, you know, like it's like the most like carefree option is like true neutral, where you're like, I don't really care about helping people, but I don't want to actively help people, but I don't want to actively hurt people, and then I don't want to actively follow the law, but I don't want to break the law, pretty much is what it is. So you're kind of just there. So I chose chaotic neutral for that. There's faith, which doesn't apply to me because I am not a cleric. Lifestyle. This lifestyle determines how expensive it is going to be for you to stay in a place. So basically, if you go to an inn, the options for rooms will be any of these. So it'll be wretched all the way through aristocratic. And so obviously you see here, there's the gold or the silver money that it costs to live here. So one night in a modest room costs 1 gold. That's kind of what it is. So basically this shows you what your preferred lifestyle is. And so it's like, if you, like I said, if I prefer wealthy and the inn only offers modest, I might be upset, you know? I'll be like, well, this isn't very good. So it's kind of like adds that little role play to it as well, of like, well, this is my preferred lifestyle, and if there's not my preferred lifestyle, you can get some roleplay in there. I'm gonna go ahead and choose poor because, yes, it literally explains it too. Poor lifestyle means going without the comforts available in a stable community. So you get simple food and lodgings, basic clothing, unpredictable conditions. So it's like, Yeah, it says literally, it says room in a flop house, common room above a tavern. So I'm gonna choose that. It does say literally people with this lifestyle level tend to be unskilled laborers, costermongers, peddlers, thieves, mercenaries. All right, so then you have physical characteristics. So this is where you go in and type whatever you want. Okay, I lied. So I can choose a faith. I can actually choose a faith because it's invisible. You don't really see the box here, but if you click underneath it, there's a box for it. But I'm still not going to choose a faith because I'm a rogue and a faceless, and I don't really care about the faith. All right, so physical characteristics. Here you have all of these physical characteristics that you can type in. Now, a lot of times it's hard because the physical characteristics, I don't know why they ordered it like this, but they ordered it before your race or your species. So it's like, oh, you kind of don't know what you want. So you can leave this for later because, like, after you choose your species, because you're probably not going to know what exactly you want your character to look like until you choose your species. So then there's personality characteristics. This is just the personality traits, ideals, bonds, flaws that you chose with the suggested characteristics. You get that way you can look at it and like make sure it's good. So you can edit them as well. And then notes, you got organizations, allies, enemies, backstory, and other. I'm not going to go into the details of like all of this stuff. A lot of times the organizations, allies, enemies, that can be in your backstory, but you can also add them later in your character sheet with that are like story based in your campaign. So if you decide to in your campaign meet up with like the Thieves Guild and befriend them, well, you get the Thieves Guild under organizations. This allows you to do stuff with your backstory and then also through the campaign as well. And then backstory is probably also the important part as well, because you can add notes here and you can just type up your backstory real quick and have it on your character sheet. But like I said, I'm not going to do that right now because I'm just going pretty quickly and simply, and I'm not going to worry about that right now. And then you click next after that, and then you get to your species. So you can filter your species sources. So I have all sources collected right now, selected right now. And so you can choose homebrew sources or any specific book. So like you see here, this is the Player's Handbook, the 2024 one, and then the 2014 ones, and then all the expanded rules that I have available on D&D Beyond. And then there's Volo's Guide to Monsters. I didn't know that that's a legacy / non-core thing. Well, Volo's Guide to Monsters apparently is there, so you have all these options that you can like specifically sort your or filter your species if you wanted a specific species from one of those books. Now you can also search as well if you're looking for a specific species as well. And then here's all of the classes that you can choose from, but it's all of the classes that you can choose from with your source books that you have and own on D&D Beyond. So everybody has the core rules and maybe the 2014 core rules. I've had my account since 2014 core rules, so I have both on here. I don't know what they're gonna do now, but when you guys like start your account, but I'd be interested to see what happens when you start an account now. So it might just be the 2024 rules, but they probably will add the 2014 rules. And then 2014 expanded rules. So here it'll have all of the species that are available and it has what book they're from. So you see here I have like Elemental Evil, Player's Companion, Spelljammer, Ravnica, Mythic Odysseys of Theros. So you got all those, and you have lineages that there's Ravnica and then Strixhaven, Spelljammer, Theros. So yeah. And then there's legacy / non-core. So these may conflict with the core rules, and that's the 2024 rules. So they may conflict with 2024 rules. They're like out of date, essentially, is what they're going for here. But if you're playing a 2014, everything 2014, you don't have to worry about it. So, but see, Azamar, they've restructured Azamar, so that's why that's in here. All of these, they've restructured like all of these. So, and then I have some homebrewed ones down here. So since I chose the 2014 version of the Rogue, I'm gonna choose a 2014 core race. And I mentioned I was gonna be from the Underdark with speaking Undercommon. So I am gonna go ahead and I'm going to select Dark Elf because it just kind of works along with it. I can be a Drow. They are from the Underdark, and it says, yeah, otherworldly grace, living world, but I'm sorry, part of it. You're infused with magic of the Underdark. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Down here, again, you see like all of the stuff, the information about it. There's the traits in text form. But then you also scroll down here to get descriptions on everything. And you can also just view the details page as well. So you get ability score increase. You so dexterity score increases by 2. You have proficiency in perception. I think I already have profession. No, I don't. I chose persuasion. So this works out for me. It doesn't overlap with any skills I have already put proficiency in, so that works out for me. Can't be charmed, or advantage against being charmed. Can't be put to sleep. I don't sleep. Charisma increases by 1. Dark vision. Superior dark vision, I should say. Sunlight sensitivity. I want to choose drown now that it says sunlight sensitivity. You know what? It's fine. Sunlight sensitivity will give me some flavor. So, sunlight sensitivity, and then drow magic. I get a bunch of drow magic, and then I get weapon training as well. So weapon proficiencies. So let's click confirm. And here again, here's like what you just selected. You can view it all here as well. Now here you choose your ability scores. So there are different generation methods. There's standard array, manual/rolled, and point buy. So basically standard array is where they have a preset numbers. They have preset numbers for each of your ability scores, and you just choose what ability those go with. So if I click standard array, see here, there you can choose from 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15. So the way this works, if I choose 8, that's 8's done. So you see here, if I click dexterity, 8's gone, can't use 8. So you have all of those abilities that you can choose from, and you just assign them wherever you want them to assign to. Now there's manual/rolled, which is self-explanatory. You roll for them. The way that I do it, I've heard a couple different ways that you can do it, but the way that I do it is you roll 4d6s and you drop the lowest one. So if I go here, oh perfect, it actually does have roll. I don't know how they roll. I'll be completely honest, I don't know how they roll. So it just depends, but if you were doing it by yourself, you could do it that way, where you roll 46s and you drop the lowest die. But here you can roll, they have dice rollers in here that will automatically populate it, and then you just select it. And then after that you have point buy, which basically means that everything starts at 8 and you have 27 points. And so you just keep buying ability points pretty much until you get to what you want. So you see here, if I want to jump, see, so dexterity because I'm a rogue. If I want to jump it all the way up to 15, it's -9 points. So now I have 18 points remaining. And 15 is the maximum that you can do it to because you have those proficiencies and stuff. So this basically allows it to, you know, be a little bit balanced with how you want to structure it. So my preferred way is rolled. The point buy and standard array, the maximum on both of them is 15, and then plus your modifiers and stuff, whatever you want to add to it, or whatever you have to add to it. I personally don't like that because that just limits it for me. I like rolled because the maximum you can roll is 18. So if you roll 3 6s out of your 4 die rolls, that's 18. So I like it better to do rolled because it makes it to where, 1, it's more random, and 2, you can actually get a higher ability score by rolling as opposed to doing standard array or point buy. And personally, this is just my personal way of DMing, I allow my players to, if they roll lower than a 10, I will allow them to re-roll. Now, not everybody does that, so that is me, that is a house rule from me, so ask your DM if it's okay to do that, because in my opinion, I just hate having to stick with a single digit number. Especially because, like, if you're supposed to be like this adventurer who's like really good at what they're doing and they're like, you know, more than a normal person, I don't like to have a stat that's lower than average, because 10 is average and I don't like there to be less than average. So unless it is meant for your character, you can put in an 8 in there for flavor or whatever, I don't really care, but unless it's purposeful, I don't necessarily like to have a single digit number. But again, ask your DM about that because that is a house rule of mine and you do whatever the DM says. So I'm gonna go ahead and roll for all of mine. So that's rolling, see, it just threw those. Oh, so it does do 46 and drops the lowest one. So that is what it does. So I rolled a 6, 5, 4, and a 1, so it drops the 1. You see it's grayed out. So it just takes the 6, the 5, and the 4, which makes me 15. So I'm gonna put that to my dexterity because that is the stat I need to focus on for being a rogue. I'm gonna roll again, so it shows the digital dice out there. So again, you see the lowest one is a 1, it dropped it made it 12. I'm gonna wait to assign this to see what my other rolls are. I just assigned that to dexterity immediately because 15's pretty high. 8, don't like that, that's bad. And again, like I said, if I was DMing, I would change this number. I would re-roll this number, but it is what it is. I got a 13, again, blocked out the 2, lowest number, got a 13. Got a 12, blocked out 2, lowest number, got a 12. And last is a 10. So this is pretty, honestly, this is pretty similar to, this is pretty similar to my standard array. So that is the unfortunate part too. You might roll and you might end up getting standard array anyway, but I got pretty close to standard array. So I'm gonna go ahead and assign my stats. So that I do get ability score increase with dexterity and charisma. So whenever I add it and I apply ability scores, it should automatically calculate that. What I like to do is I like to do it in a way to where the ability score increases work for me. So with the modifiers, the ability score modifier changes on even numbers. So at 10 it's 0, 12 it turns to 1, 14 it turns to 2, and so on. And so I like to try and make it to where my ability scores are even, so that way I can bump it up to the next ability score modifier. So for instance, I might not even want to do this with dexterity because my ability score increases by 2. I probably will still do it like that because there's nothing, like if I were to roll a 14 and I have a 15, I would bump my 14, I would make my 14 the dexterity and the 15 something else, because the 14 turns into a 16 instead of making the 15 turn into a 17, because 16 and 17 have the same ability score modifier, so I want to maximize the ability score modifiers. I don't know if you guys understood what I'm saying, but I will hopefully have a visual representation of that. I'm gonna leave that on dex, that'll make it 17. My next important one is charisma, so the next highest, which my charisma, actually this is perfect. I'm happy with being a drow, because dexterity and charisma is my main thing. So I'm gonna make this 13 my charisma, so that can become 14. So these are my ability scores. Like I said, the dexterity, this 15 is gonna turn into a 17, and this charisma, this 13 is gonna change into a 14. Okay, so when you're done with that, all you gotta do is apply ability scores, and it'll auto-populate. Now, you can go in and change them. So if I reset group, confirm, it erases all of that. My ability scores are already applied, and if I really wanted to, I can roll another one. I got 11. I could replace that for strength if I wanted to. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. This is my rolls. This is my video. I'm doing what I want to do, so you guys can just suck it up and deal with it. So I got an 11 for another roll for my re-roll for strength. So I'm gonna put that in intelligence, and then I'm gonna make this strength a 10. You can make it manual. This is just like to make it easier. You can roll in the app, or you can roll on the website and then apply ability scores, but you can actually type them manually if you want to roll physical dice. So these are the dice rolls, and then these are the totals. So these are the dice rolls, so you see how it's 15, and then the total is 17. That's because of the ability score increase. It bumped up to 2, so the total is 17. Same thing with the charisma, it's 13 and then to 14. So right here you have the score calculations, the breakdown of all the score calculations. So the total score and the modifier, so 17 is a +3 modifier. So that's where you can see kind of like all the modifiers. So I have +0s, +1, +2, all that kind of stuff. And then down here in the non-blue squares is how it gets to that total score. So the base score is what you rolled, you got the bonus, like I said, the bonus is from the Dark Elf Drow, set score, all this stuff. So yeah, and you can override the score, or you can add another modifier based off of your DM of whatever you decide to do. So now for equipment, you either choose your starting equipment that comes with your class, or you can choose gold that you can then do to pay for all this equipment. So you can talk to your DM about if you choose gold, because then you can like go into the player's handbook and like purchase it ahead of time, or in the campaign you can go to a store and then purchase stuff from them there as well. So it just depends on how you want to do it. I always just do starting equipment because it makes it easy. So you see here, rogue starting equipment, a rapier or a short sword. I'm going to choose a short sword, a short bow and quiver 20 arrows, or a short sword. So I'm gonna do a short bow. Burglar's pack or a Dungeoneer's pack. I'm gonna choose a Burglar's pack, which whenever you select it, it tells you what it comes with. That way you don't have to like guess. So you can flip back and forth and see what's in each of them. Or an explorer's pack, I actually missed that. Also, you get some starting equipment with your background. So for the faceless starting equipment, I get disguise kit, a costume, and a pouch containing 10 gold pieces. So I'm gonna add starting equipment and it'll all populate here. Current inventory, total weight is 25 pounds, but I've turned off encumbrance, so that won't affect me at all. And so here you go, it adds all of this stuff from D&D Beyond's compendium of equipment, and it has quantity over here. You can click use and it'll decrease from the quantity and all that stuff. Other possessions, this is just personal possessions. If you wanted to have something like from your backstory, like, oh, I don't know, say you have like your mother's heirloom necklace that you wanted to add to here, and that way add some flavor. So those personal possessions you can add here, and then add any items that your like DM says that you have. You can just add them here. The same thing with currency, you can just manually type in your currency. So normally with your equipment here, you get 10 gold pieces. With my specific equipment, everybody's backgrounds, I believe it's background that it gets from. Your background gives a different currency number for all of it, maybe even your class. So you just go based off of that, and then you can also manually type it in. After you've selected all your equipment, you can either view your character sheet or export to PDF. You can always export to a PDF afterwards. You can always just do that later if you wanted. But you can go ahead and view character sheet after you're done. But before I need to do that, I still need to have some things done. So make sure you do everything you want to do before the character sheet before you move on. You can do things afterwards, but it's just nice and easy if you get it out of the way now. So for my character name, all right. So I've made my character name. My personal true self name is Morlin Kylo, and my persona's name is Anarius. So I have that in parentheses, my persona's name, so that way I have both of them on there. So once I have my name, I also need to go back to my background and figure out my physical characteristics. Since I now have chosen my species, I need to set my physical characteristics. All right, so now I have my physical characteristics. I have platinum hair, indigo skin, teal eyes, 5'10" height, 145 pounds, 32 years old, and male. And just wanted to let you guys know, you can also, there's these tabs up here that you can jump to if you needed to go, if you needed to go back to anything or forward to anything. That way you don't have to keep clicking next over and over again or previous. So there are tabs up here. So I'm gonna go ahead and click what's next, and then view character sheet. And then also, before I view character sheet, there's also this like little icon with this plus sign. You can add in a picture of what your character will look like. So that is for if you already have an image of what he looks like or what they look like, you can just go ahead and put that in there. But you can always do that later as well. So no stressing about it now. Just want to let you guys know that that was an option. So view character sheet, it'll load, and then it'll populate everything here that you did in that whole process. You have your name up here, all this stuff. You have all of your ability scores here, proficiency bonus, walking speed, all of that stuff. Your hit points are up here, and your actions are all here, spells, inventory, everything's up here. So this is your virtual character sheet. This is all you need to know, all you need to have for everything. That's how you make a character in D&D Beyond. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope you guys learned something from this. If you have any questions whatsoever, just let me know. I will, answer them in the comments, or I will make a whole other video based off of that. So just let me know. Yeah, I hope to see you guys in my next video.